A comedy documentary is a very rare thing. Geeta, you'd already made a documentary called Project Kashmir, which is a war documentary. And Janet, you worked on some serious and substantive feature films working at HBO. So how do you make the transition to a comedy documentary, as difficult as it might be?
I see life as, okay, every film, every story, in my opinion, if it's about life, then life is about love and is about pain. So it wasn't difficult at all because filmmakers I look up to are like Sidney Pollack, who does everything, Anthony Minghella, who's done everything. Like life is hard and life is hilarious, right? So during the war documentary, I was, in fact, it's 7 years I was in this war zone, and the one thing that I noticed that everybody wanted and everyone talked about was being in love, falling in love, staying in love. That's all they wanted. So coming out of that story, it was very natural to want to go and explore love. I don't know. I mean, our family's very funny. It is, it's just another story. How about you, Janet?
Well, also this is a very, it can be very painful for families when there is discord over these cultural issues. And when Geeta and Ravi started interviewing, they found some stories that were just, people that would never speak to each other again. I've run into it among friends of mine, families, and they just said, we're not going to do that. We want to, this is going to be, we're going to make this happy because that's what we believe. And we believe that if people can laugh and deal with serious issues, then we can all learn something and enjoy it. And that's what we want to do. So it was a conscious choice not to go there.
What point did you come into the process?
Geeta and Ravi had shot the initial family vacation footage in India and had started to look at it and put it together. They had gotten initial funding from ITVS, and they realized that there were going to be gaps in the story because they just didn't want to, when these big important family moments came along, they didn't want to be sitting there with the camera. That was something that family came first. They didn't want to do it. And they had seen American Splendor, which was a film that I had worked on, and they loved the structure of it. It was a narrative, also a documentary, also there was animation and comic book footage, and even more of a turned around because the comic book was about life and the biography of the life. And they wanted to do something like that, and they had a lot of great ideas about how to do it, and I thought, great, let's give this a try. The first idea was that they wanted to put the movie together with, it would be like a talk show in Ravi's mind, in his imagination, where he could talk to any love experts that he wanted, university professor love experts or aunties and uncles, Deepak Chopra, and he would find out the answers, like what is love, how do you get it, that sort of thing. And they said to me, Janet, all we want you to do is just put together this shoot. We want to, Ravi will interview these people, put it in front of a white cyc, a big white background, so it's sort of Ravi's imagination. And then we're going to be editing for 6 months. We'll be done with it. Geeta said, Project Kashmir took me 7 years, and we didn't have to do that. It could have been 1 year, 6 months, and we'll be done.
And how long ago is that?
That was almost 6 years ago. So it's been quite a journey.
She got duped.
Complete waste.
She got duped. But we ended up not going with the white cyc. We ended up trying 4 or 5 things through the years, and that's one of the reasons it took so long.
Yeah, because you started with essentially a vacation and a new video camera. And at what point did the light bulb come on for both of you to say, we think this is a film, and then what were the stages of reaching what kind of film it became?
So, I think the seed of it was probably, I was emceeing this 500-person Indian lawyers convention here in LA, and I was just kind of riffing on how that day my mom had sent over these matrimonial resumes of Patel girls, and I was supposed to just cold call them up and say, hey, I'm Ravi, some person neither of us know thinks we'd be great together for life. Do you want to Skype? And I was just talking about how awkward it is and how everyone in that room kind of knew what I was talking about. And I was killing in a way that I had never killed before because there was something behind the laughter that you could feel in the room at that
You
time.
said it was like cathartic when you told me about it.
Yeah. And I even stopped for a moment. I go, wait a second. How many of you in this room are single? And everyone except for the organizers basically raised their hand.
And these are lawyers, right?
These are Indian lawyers, and they're Jain, which is like a sect of, it's like Hindu adjacent religion. And I realized, oh yeah, that's why you're here. Actually, there's not like a legal reason to ever get another Jain lawyer on the horn to to lock up a case. Like it's yet another kind of institutional front that has evolved from this kind of cultural requirement to marry within. And afterwards, everyone was coming up to me and they're like, I'm so glad you talked about that. Like, I hope you do a comedy tour on this or write a book, which I don't have the work ethic for. So that didn't happen. And then, so it was in my mind, though, that this was something, because people were sharing their stories and they're hilarious and they're tragic even. We heard stories of suicide. And
we had our own cousin who ran away from home because of, her parents wanting to arrange her marriage. And so we knew that this was an important subject. But we also knew that in order to address it, we wanted to address it in a way. Well, I'm probably skipping ahead, huh?
No, you're not. No,
Right?
not at all. I mean, I think. Well, look. What happened was just like in the movie, we just I'd just broken up with Audrey. I was really wrestling with feeling kind of spineless about not ever telling mom and dad about her, and here I am on this 18-hour flight to India where mom and dad only have one thing on their mind, and they are obviously sharing it because everyone in my family doesn't stop talking, and Geeta's got this new camera which she never learned how to use, and we're having these conversations, and all of this is like all of the anxiety.
And his suffering was just so funny.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
They're speaking.
I'm like,
yeah.
I was taking a break. I had just finished this war film, and I was broke. I had sold my car to finish it. I mean,
It was a Corolla, so it wasn't a bunch of money.
Shut up. And so I was just like,
It got her another 2 weeks down the road.
My turn.
No, sorry, go ahead.
And I was like, I'm gonna learn how to use a camera, and I want to like take a break and just film the family trip and just relax finally, And Ravi's babbling on about this convention he had gone to and how he's like, Geeta, we have to do something. We have to document this. I was like, yeah, you do it, and I'll help you. I had worked with PBS, so I was like, look, I'll help you do it, but I'm not doing it. I need a break. I need a boyfriend. Like, I need something. And so
Still do. Again, meet the Patels Facebook.
But he's like going through this, and I just couldn't help but film it. I mean, it was just hilarious.
No, I remember telling you.
Mom and Dad didn't know you'd had a girlfriend.
No, they didn't know that.
So
They didn't know I dated at
like
all.
He's never dated before, and they've never dated before.
No,
Like,
but I
that's
remember
the fun
telling.
part.
I remember telling you.
Dad's giving dating advice. Like, he doesn't know what he's doing. When you talk to the girl.
Oh, and he thinks
Ravi.
he's like
They had 10
the
minutes
man
together
with
before
ladies.
they
Let me
got
tell you
engaged.
what to tell her.
In that scene, you can't really hear him where he's giving me that pep
So-
speech, and he like slaps me like with the back of his hand. What he says, and you couldn't hear it. He goes, "Come on, you're my son."
So when it came time to pitch this, how did you pitch it so people didn't see it as an ethnic film, but a family film?
Well, to be honest, we didn't know it was a film about family when we started. I mean, when we started making this, the working title of this film was 1 in a Billion for, up until like
But
year
now
and a
it
half
was
ago.
4 in a billion.
4 in a Billion is the name of our production company because we thought it was cute. It went well with the title. Now it's just weird. But at the time we thought it was going to be. We thought we were going to make this like Michael Moore, Morgan Spurlock thing. We're all more of a journalist.
Like
and,
academic.
a funny,
this is what's happening in the country right now.
Yeah, we're interviewing all these different people, and what happened was we came back and we realized there was something really interesting about these intimate conversations that we were having, and also kind of the growing irony that this person behind the camera was actually hiding behind the camera and going through things even worse. And so once we kind of fell in love with that dynamic, we started to explore, obviously it's convenient, like she's my sister, we live together. By the way, we also don't live together anymore, so there is a happy ending that keeps going there.